How's it going, everyone? So I'm just here drinking my delicious top shelf tonic elixir, full of ginseng, high quality ginseng, the best shit you can buy in the market. Really, just small family farm ginseng. And I wanted to try to get a really simple video across to tell y'all what actually matters for health. All right, lots of people out there, they say their main goal is to get healthy, okay? But they never actually sit down and define what healthy actually means. What does healthy mean? Healthy, getting healthy, it means your blood sugar and your glycemic tolerance is in a healthy range, okay? Mostly meaning your blood test, you're reading a hemoglobin A1C, typically below like 5.4 or something like that, below 5.6, okay? But hovering around the 4.8 A1C mark, somewhere around there. Having a healthy hemoglobin A1C, a healthy insulin sensitivity, and really just a healthy tolerance to blood sugar as a whole, okay? That is one of the primary things, okay, as far as health is concerned. But beyond that, your triglyceride levels in a blood test. You need tangible markers of health that are actually measuring real things that matter. So LDL cholesterol, LDL is not even cholesterol. It's actually a fatty protein, a lipoprotein. It's a fatty molecule that kind of floats around your blood. And it doesn't really have any causal evidence in scientific literature outside of studies on pharmaceutical interventions and things and genetic polymorphisms, genetic diseases on cholesterol metabolism. There's no evidence outside of that actually points towards LDL being relevant to health outcomes. There's centenarian data that shows some of the longest living people in the world have some of the highest LDL levels. But even HDL, right, high density lipoprotein on a blood panel is kind of more or less significant, just outside of normal range, okay? Not really a big deal. But triglyceride levels, okay, I'm going to personally go out on a limb and say 40 to 120 nanograms per deciliter. There's a wide range, but I'm going to say around 80 nanograms per deciliter is probably where you want your triglycerides to be, somewhere around there. And a lot of my clients and people I've known for a long time, when they go on a, protein-based or animal-based or meat-based diet, and they get their glycemic load under control, a lot of them, their freaking triglycerides go rock bottom to like 40 to 60 nanograms per deciliter, which is crazy. And these are people that used to be really, really fat. So, there's that. And then what's the other thing? What's the other thing that is a marker of health? Obviously, your body composition, okay? So having a healthy waist circumference ratio, okay? Measuring your waist circumference and having it within a generally healthy range is important. And then having your body fat percentage in a healthy range as well. And newsflash, if you're anorexic or if you don't really lift weights or have a relatively healthy amount of muscle mass on you, having a low body fat percentage doesn't really matter that much, right? Because I've had dudes who come to me for training and shit like that, right? And they're like, I've had some that are like 6 or 7% body fat, and they look like literally if I poke them, their bones might break. That's how brittle they fucking look. So I'm telling you right now, low body fat percentage isn't necessarily a good thing either. It could just indicate malnourishment, extreme malnourishment. And in the fitness population, people who lift a lot of weights and shit, a lot of people out there's main goal is to get shredded. And I've always think these fuckboys who are so obsessed with getting shredded is just so fucking pathetic and hilarious. Most girls don't give a fuck how shredded a guy is, and the ones that do are probably have body dysmorphia themselves. So And that's just my opinion. I'm probably wrong, right? But god damn, son, I don't give a fuck about that shit. It's very unhealthy to have an obsession like that. Those dudes usually never make progress unless they hop on some TRT or some gear or some shit like that, which is so stupid. And most of these dudes are like 18 to 25 years old, not percent body fat. I'm getting on a rant. Anyway, there's a lot of negative health consequences from being that lean. Okay. Your hormones will crash, libido goes down, mood goes down, your strength goes down, your will to fucking live goes down, your ambition to succeed goes down, and your sleep goes in the shitter. So, extreme calorie deficits and lower body fat percentage is not always good, but body fat percentage is very important in regards to health. Okay, so you need tangible markers of health. That's what you need. You need your body fat percentage tested. You need your waist circumference tested. You need your markers of blood sugar health tested. And triglyceride levels, in my opinion, are very big, because if your triglyceride levels are in a healthy range, usually that indicates your glycemic health is also in a healthy range. That indicates that your hemoglobin A1C is probably on the right track, and your diet is probably constructed in a way that's going to make your blood sugars regulate as well. Okay, because triglycerides, they are a measure of blood fats. But typically, your triglycerides usually don't get high unless you have an excess of energy coming in, usually in the form of carbohydrates. Let me just briefly explain. So when you consume a large surplus of carbohydrates as a whole, externally from the diet, over time, when you're consuming way more carbohydrates than your body really can use, what happens, obviously, you start to gain weight, and that's just a calorie thing. Of course, yes. Excess calories, yes. Okay? For sure. But glucose and carbohydrates specifically, not only do you gain body fat, stored fat on your body, but you also start to gain fat in your liver, because a lot of the carbohydrates that you're burning and consuming, it is getting stored and burned in the liver. Liver glycogen is a big storehouse of carbohydrates and glucose. And so if you're consuming too much carbohydrates your body can't burn, your liver can only store so much glycogen. Eventually, the fat in your liver spills over. So it goes to three different places. So because you're consuming so much carbohydrates and energy, way more than your body can burn off, it's getting stored in the liver as liver fat, right? Fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, but also getting stored in the body fat, like, fat and flabby arms and legs and shit. But also there's going to be extra fat circulating in the blood. So that's where blood triglycerides actually come from. So, calories are very important as a whole, but in regards to health, your calories from glucose and calories from external carbohydrates, I think, is very important. And I am not the anti-carb guy. I don't think carbs are poison or carbs are bad or anything, but I can tell you in regards to general health, most human beings do not need to be eating excess carbohydrates. And let me also remind you, this is coming from a competitive athlete who I won 2 jiu-jitsu gold medals on eating 1 meal a day. 1 meal a day for several months during the training camp, training like 3 hours of jiu-jitsu and 2 hours of strength training a day, as well as for several months. And that was on a ketogenic 1 meal a day protocol. I was eating, for sure, under 80 grams of carbs a day. Okay? Mostly coming from berries. And then on my hardest training days, I would eat a little bit of honey beforehand. Usually about 2 tablespoons of honey, if even that. So I was definitely eating under 80 grams of carbs a day. And on days I didn't train, hardly any at all. Okay? And I've competed in kickboxing on a completely carnivorous diet with no carbs at all. And I had way more energy than the other guy. I've been doing this for years. And there's a lot of other athletes who have done this as well. And I'm not telling y'all that y'all need to do that. What I'm saying is if I can fucking win gold medals in jiu-jitsu training that much on such little carbs, do you fucking really believe that you as an average human with general fitness goals and you're just trying to be healthier need to be freaking eating, oatmeal every morning and shit like that? A little side note, I've actually had clients who I've literally witnessed have a hypoglycemic seizure in front of me, okay? Because their fucking doctor insisted that they consumed a large bowl of oatmeal every morning before exercising, okay? And that actually sent their blood sugar super, super high, and then their insulin fucking hypercompensated and shot their blood sugar low, and then you start exercising. Exercise actually directly lowers blood sugar almost immediately because it increases insulin really, really fast, right? So they had this crazy swing of freaking blood sugars, mostly because their fucking doctor's advice to eat this high-carb breakfast, okay? So anyway, all that I'm saying, and I've seen this over and over again, this is very, very common. For health metrics, hemoglobin A1C, triglycerides, and as I was saying before, your triglycerides are a direct reflection of how your body's metabolizing the carbs you are eating, okay, and the energy that you're eating. The more energy you have coming in that your body is storing as body fat and storing storing, the higher your triglycerides will be. So if you have low triglycerides, that means that your body is effectively burning off the vast majority of glucose and glycogen that you're consuming. So I do believe, and that is also why triglycerides is a major factor for heart disease, a major factor for diabetes, and it's directly correlated with all of those things. So, hemoglobin A1C is cool, but there's so many factors and it's very nuanced. By the time your hemoglobin A1C starts to show, a score of 6 and higher, you're so far down the insulin resistance rabbit hole that it's been 10 years too late. That's generally what they say. So you can also test your insulin sensitivity, but there's a lot of things that affect that. From a fasting insulin test, I think the best marker of health from a blood test overall is going to be triglyceride levels. That's how I feel. So. And LDL cholesterol, HDL is less important. And then obviously your waist circumference and your body fat percentage as a whole. All right. So those are the main that's real as far as metabolic health is concerned and your risk of diabetes, heart disease. Those are what matters. And when we're talking about health, that's what we mean. Okay. And it's very important to have a conceptual definition of what health means. And that's metabolic health. There's other factors too. Autoimmune illness, your mood, your energy, and how robust your body and your nervous system is to being able to deal with the duties of life. That's another factor that's important. But it's a completely different side of health. It's a different layer. It's a different level of health. The very first level of health is getting your blood sugar, triglycerides, hemoglobin A1C under control. Okay? After that level, then you have autoimmune illness and digestive function, okay? Digestive function, the main thing that matters, okay? So I have in-depth videos explaining why prebiotics, probiotics, and gut microbiome is bullshit. If you are using terms like gut health or gut microbiome, you are a fucking bro scientist, okay? I gotta chill. Let's be civil here because it shouldn't be. What upsets me is the amount of confidence people speak about these things with when there's no real solid causal evidence to back these things. It upsets me a lot. Okay? And they speak in absolutist terms. And then they think like, I'm so scientific because I'm talking about microbiome and it's no. All the strains of bacteria and stuff, it's all mental masturbation. I used to be heavily involved in all of that discussion until I realized how to actually understand science and interpret it in a way that translates to real world results, which I've gotten my clients and people that worked with me and myself these real world results, right? I've been in the fucking trenches, motherfucker. All right. But gut microbiome and gut health. Watch my videos with timestamps. I have playlists on my channel. Go look through those. I explained why you don't need to worry about fiber, prebiotics, and bacterial strains to improve gut microbiome. Okay? Polyphenols and all that stuff as well. Don't need to worry about that. For digestive health, okay? It's all about the fibers and carbohydrates that you consume. Again, fiber and carbohydrates are not the devil. If you enjoy eating broccoli, you enjoy eating salad, do it. However, understand that there are potential side effects and they're not magical. If the plants you're eating are not ginseng, they're not ashwagandha, rhodiola, whatever, if they're not tonic herbs, adaptogens, if they're not plants that have real established benefits that you could feel when you consume them. Like when I'm drinking my ginseng coffee, the lights turn on from the ginseng. Ginseng you can feel within 30 minutes. Broccoli you could feel in 30 minutes, but the feeling you get is a bloated balloon in your stomach and giant farts. It's disgusting, motherfucker. Let me explain this though. Digestive health. So when you consume meat and animal foods and protein, okay, it's almost entirely digested in your stomach. Your pepsin and your hydrochloric acid, it neutralizes the stomach acid. The stomach acid and stuff, it neutralizes the proteins and the flesh molecules, they're known as larger peptides, and it demolishes it into a liquid chyme and into smaller molecules. It literally digests it damn near and turns it into smaller molecules and breaks it down in your stomach within like the first 4 hours or less, usually about 2 hours of you consuming it. A lot of people, they say that, oh, I feel meat in my stomach forever and all this other shit. You don't know what you're talking about necessarily. You feel the sensation of foods in your stomach, but you don't know what's actually happening in there. So I'm not going to debunk lay people ignorance right now, but just because you feel like meat is not working, whatever, there's a lot of other factors involved. Most people don't realize if you cook meat in oil, if you're cooking chicken fried steak, right? It's breaded. All of those things make a difference. People are like, oh, I get gas when I eat protein, or I get gas when I eat meat. Well, what motherfucker, are you just eating the meat? Or are you eating potatoes with it? Are you eating french fries with it? Are you eating bread with it? Are you cooking it with vegetable oil? The margarine, like most restaurants don't even have real butter anymore. It's margarine. Those things really fuck up your intestine as well. So anyway, when you eat meat, so it's usually not the meat, I'm telling you. And if it is, you need to get your stomach acid on point. And you do that by using a medicinal protocol emphasizing apple cider vinegar. Okay, but I'll have to talk about that some other time, okay? Because that sounds scary. And I've had people with severe stomach acid problems arguing with me about apple cider vinegar when they've never fucking tried it. Or if they have, they didn't dilute it like an idiot. They just took raw apple cider vinegar with no water dilution. They're like, oh, I took 4 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, bro, and I almost died. It almost burned a hole in my stomach. I'm like, yeah, bitch, because you need to fucking dilute it 8 ounces of water, fool. Oh, God. What the fuck, man? This motherfucker looking at me dead in the eyes, like all serious. Like, I know what I'm talking about, fool. I'm like, bro, you almost killed yourself because you didn't dilute the apple cider vinegar. And you chill the fuck out, you ignorant, arrogant fool. right? Darwinism at its finest. I at least I would hope, but that's actually apparently a very common thing. Whatever. Let's get back to the video. Damn it. What was I talking about? Fuck. Protein. Yes. Okay, your body breaks down the vast majority of animal flesh and protein molecules in the stomach, and then it's absorbed in the intestine shortly after. Now, when you consume plants, especially fibrous plants, whole carbohydrates, so white rice doesn't do this, and neither does sugar or honey. Okay? Honey, white sugar, and white rice, it's actually a very easy to digest, which is why the glycemic index is so high in the blood sugar response. It's easier on digestion, although it feeds yeast and candida. Okay? Not honey, though. Honey, definitely not. But white sugar, white rice definitely feeds candida for sure. Okay? And other pathogens and stuff. Okay? But it's very easy to digest. Okay? It digests fast. But when you consume something, let's just say beans. Okay? Let's say beans. If you consume fucking beans, there's a lot of problems with it. The first thing is the type of carbohydrates that generally your body breaks down to starch from beans is such a complex carbohydrate, your body doesn't have the enzyme to break it down. And that's usually why beans are seen as significantly more gassy than others. So what happens is any plant food, any whole carbohydrate, you're consuming it, it's in your stomach, sitting in your stomach the same way that you chewed it. So after you chew it, it doesn't break down further in the stomach, whereas meat breaks down almost completely in the stomach. Okay? The plant foods don't. Even though you have amylase and starch digesting enzymes in your saliva, it doesn't really break down the harder shell of the bean. That's why you see corn, for example. Corn shells. Corn shells, almost entirely undigested in your stool. They're notorious for that. It is because we can't break down cellulose and some of these other harder to digest plant carbohydrates and plant saccharides. So a lot of that, even the ones we can digest, even a lot of the starch, it sits in our stomach undigested. Okay? And it's way heavier in your stomach than the meat, because meat just almost entirely digests by itself. And then it passes through the intestine and it ferments, usually in the colon, okay? Or it ferments though. So you have a lot of undigested plant matter, like just sitting in your intestine, okay? Now here's what happens there. The plant foods are then fermented, meaning they rot. Okay, but they're broken down, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, right? But they're broken down by bacteria. Okay, so again, watch my video with timestamps. It's in the playlist section on my YouTube channel, where I discuss this in detail. Okay, probiotics and prebiotics. I discuss how plant foods become bacteria and they build bacteria and shit. The probiotics in your intestines' main fucking function and utility is to digest these plant foods that we can't break down ourselves. So, it's broken down in the intestine by bacteria. That's how plants digest. Okay? Now, the problem is that the more plants you consume, the more bacteria needs to be utilized to break it down. And that bacteria is created from these plants. Okay? So we're not digesting most of these plant foods, even the so-called healthy carbohydrates, the beans and nuts and seeds and all that shit. Okay? So even someone who has a very healthy digestive system, their body is working so hard to break down all these plants all fucking day, right? And remember, we don't have cellulose like herbivorous animals. We're not fucking apes, we're not like gorillas. We're not hippopotamuses. So there's a lot of people, vegans, that say we should eat like gorillas and shit. That's fucking stupid. We're not horses. We don't have 3 stomachs. So typically you see a lot of these high fiber dieters, specifically vegans and shit, they're taking a shit like eight times a day, and they're farting all day, and it's just terrible. So let let me explain real quick. Why is this important for health? Okay, listen. There's a lot of people out there. Okay, so this is first of all why I eat almost exclusively meat, and then I eat honey for carbs. I don't even eat fruit anymore. Okay, and then I have my tonic herbs and stuff, right? So first of all, we'll talk about protein in a bit. Okay, protein and eating animal flesh literally is the most important thing you can do to solve all of these problems. And then removing the foods that give problems, right? Eating the foods that you need and that make you healthy, and then removing the foods that have negative effects on your health and negative effects on your well-being. That's all you need to do. Very, very simple. But people overcomplicate it. That's the problem. You don't need supplements. You don't need green smoothies. You don't need vitamin and mineral supplements or any of that. You don't need creatine. You don't need carotene. You don't need none of that. All right. So, autoimmune illness. So you have digestive illness, Crohn's disease, you have colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, you have diverticulosis, there's a lot of intestinal disorders and digestive diseases out there, okay? Most of these digestive diseases are caused by, or triggered by, or exacerbated by fibers and harder to digest carbohydrate compounds that are irritating the intestine as they scrape by. Because remember, they're passed through the stomach mostly however you chewed them. Undigested, though, they're still plants. They're still in their whole food form, just chewed up, moving through your stomach, moving into and through your intestine. And there's a book. It's called The Fiber Menace. It's very extremist, and a lot of the information out there is a little inaccurate, but the general premise is true. You can think of the fiber as kind of scraping a lot of the lining of the intestine. So a lot of these people, they're pooping out blood. They have hard to pass bowel movements. They're mighty inflamed. It's because this fiber, all it's doing, it's bulking up your stool. It's making it larger. So it gives you the sensation that it's improving bowel movements. But the reality is, it's fucking scraping up against the intestine and potentially harming it in people that are not breaking it down effectively. And a lot of these, I just feel like the majority of humans out there, no matter how healthy you think you are, you're not built to break all this shit down that much. You know what I mean? So anyway. What people find is when they remove these foods, and a lot of people, it's just specific ones, right? They solve the vast majority of these intestinal issues. But it's not just the intestinal issues. It's also the autoimmune illness. So autoimmune disease. So what are some examples? Fibromyalgia. Okay, I've talked about how I had a girlfriend for 5 years. She had extreme fibromyalgia episodes. And we found out that she had a very extreme response, mostly to peanuts, gliadin, and gluten from wheat proteins. And even triple distilled alcohol somehow that was derived from wheat. If she was spiked with it, and she didn't even know. For some reason, it caused a response. And there were times where we went to a restaurant and she ate something unknowingly containing like wheat or gliadin, and she had the fibromyalgia episode, which is just extreme pains in the body, right? And crippling pains. And doctors told her she needed to get surgery for her back and other weird shit like that. They gave her stupid advice, but we realized if she just avoided these food intolerances, she was fine, okay? So that's one example. But fibromyalgia is an autoimmune illness, or it's seen as one. Lupus, what else? Multiple sclerosis. There's a wide variety of autoimmune illness, okay? Oh, psoriasis as well. So people who've been following me for a long time know that I developed extreme psoriasis symptoms, as well as extreme digestive problems, okay, let's put it that way, around the time I started going whole foods plant-based. When I started to eat healthy, from 2012 to like 2015, 14 or 15. I also had extreme breathing issues and anxiety and all sorts of crazy things happening during that time. Eventually, what I found is if I just completely remove, or really if I remove beans, nuts, and seeds and whole grains and legumes, I was good. Anyway, let's get back to this. There's a lot of, I found eventually there are hundreds of thousands of people who also have autoimmune conditions and digestive illnesses out there who were some of them put on their deathbed, right? Multiple sclerosis, the brain is literally deteriorating itself. But there's now hundreds of different people who have case reports and documentation of putting that into remission by basically eating an elimination diet based on meat. So they eat mostly meat, and then a lot of them will eat broccoli and fruits and stuff like that as well. But they remove a lot of foods that were, for some reason, causing problems in their body and basically causing their brain to eat itself, right? Which is a very extreme case. But what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to say plants are bad. I'm trying to explain this is a very important aspect of health that is lost in the mainstream. Because most mainstream health people just focus on, restricting calories, eating enough protein, and eating a lot of freaking salads and shit, right? And then taking vitamins and crap. Meanwhile, they're trembling with health problems that are crippling, okay? And so, digestive illness as well. So what is causing this? Most likely, essentially, it's generally agreed that in the intestine, where a lot of these plant foods are supposed to be absorbed and metabolized and entering into the bloodstream and all that, essentially, you're malabsorbing a lot of these proteins and stuff. And it's sending your immune system haywire, okay? And your immune system doesn't know what to do with these foreign bodies. And it's sending immune molecules that attack certain parts of your body. And maybe some of these proteins and things are getting malabsorbed or maldigested and entering the bloodstream in ways that they're not meant to be there. And then your body's incorporating them in different parts of the body, which is triggering the symptoms. So we don't know that the mechanism, that's generally what's accepted as likely. But what we do know is if you remove those foods altogether, we know that a lot of people get complete remission and become healthier, okay? So that's important, okay? That's very important if your goal is health, okay? And that's way deeper than the general kind of just like, control your blood sugar, lose body fat, get healthy. It's more than that if you really want to be truly healthy. So that's that second layer. First layer, metabolic health, gets your fucking blood sugar on check, your body composition, your body fat percentage. Second layer, autoimmune illness, stuff like that. Digestive health, right? And that comes from monitoring and being mindful of the type of saccharides, fiber, carbohydrates, and really plant foods and things in your body and how your body's responding to them. Now, the third layer of health is going to be, and this is the fun part that most people try to just skip to. The third layer of health is going to be optimizing your mood, your energy, and your adaptability to the stresses of life. Okay. Now, this third layer is where I'm at these days and where my real interest is, because I've already conquered all of the other things, right? Now, before we get to this, the third layer involves things like adaptogenic herbs and stuff like that. The third layer is nootropics, adaptogenic herbs, using affirmations and mindfulness techniques and meditation and stuff like that. And then obviously getting your social circle on check and your friendships and stuff. And then optimizing your career and all these other things, okay? Usually it's very, very hard to optimize brain health, mental energy, career, relationships, and worry about this shit when your health is in shambles, right? So before you get there, you need to get your blood sugar, diabetes, and your autoimmune conditions on check first. And actually, I'd say the autoimmune conditions and the digestive health should probably be the very first thing. Because autoimmune conditions and having a digestive system that goes crazy, or you have colitis or whatever, can kill you. Whereas blood sugar and heart disease risk takes a lot longer. But But and then also bone mineral density. Past the age of 65, the scientific literature shows it's not heart disease and cancer that kills people. It is bone fractures, hip fractures, and dying of side effects of being in the hospital from a tragic fall in the elderly populations. And that comes from strength training and eating that protein. But the third pillar is going to be things like adaptogenic herbs, and then optimizing the blueprint of your diet. So once you get to the third layer of health, like you've already gotten your blood sugar on check, your diabetes risk, you're probably, you probably look very healthy, you probably look very aesthetic, you have a good amount of muscle mass on you, you're pretty lean, you have a good fitness level, stuff like that. Your diet's on check, you eat plenty of protein, you're removing a lot of the high glycemic load carbs and refined carbs, and you found the food sugars that make you feel like shit, right? Now, you can start to add in plants, you could add in fruits, you could find what carbs work for me, right? What carbs can I add for a performance benefit? And then what kind of plants can I tolerate and eat? And then, experiment with ginseng and shit like that, right? So there's plants out there. So red panax ginseng's one I take a lot. Basically, it improves your mood, it improves your libido, it gives you crazy energy to fucking smash your day, motivation, ambition, drive. It speeds up your mind, and I have 149 IQ. As most of y'all know, I'm technically a genius. So my mind operates on a very high level at a very fast pace, and I can hold a shit ton of ideas in my mind at one time while I'm talking to people in life. It's crazy. And I used to think it was just normal for people. I never thought it was special, but it is very important that it's acknowledged now. But in regards to ginseng, it typically speeds my mind up beyond that. So it can be, for people who have a slow constitution, ginseng is good for y'all. For me, I love that feeling. So it is what it is, whatever. It can make you feel young again, improve your recovery, all that shit. That's essentially what you want to think about for ginseng, right? You have things like, let's see, what's another one? Reishi mushroom, right? It's very popular. From Hyperion Herbs. Don't take cheap shit. Remember that. Reishi mushroom's basically the opposite of ginseng. Reishi helps calm you down, improve digestion. It helps you sleep, or it should help you sleep. It gets your brain to start to level out, ground itself. It's used for spiritual cultivation, and just grounding the nervous system and relaxing you. For me, when I take ginseng, I feel a lot more upbeat. I want to go and really attack things. I feel it's a more aggressive energy. Reishi is a more grounding, passive, internal energy. I'm a lot more insightful on Reishi. I'm a lot more sentimental on Reishi, a lot more hugging, loving, spiritual, sentimental on Reishi. And it will make me depressed sometimes when I'm in areas of my life where I feel a lot of grieving on Reishi. Ginseng actually makes me just say, fuck all that shit. None of that shit matters. I'm going to go kill shit. That's basically how ginseng makes me feel. So, but those are two different adaptogenic tonic herbs from Chinese medicine that do two different things on the opposite end of the spectrum. There's a lot of other adaptogens and things out there that, again, they're plants. Well, reishi, I guess, is a mushroom, but whatever. Point is, there's, you have gotu kola, you have holy basil leaf, right? There's leaves and shit. But you have plants out there, tonic herbs, plants that have real benefits that you could fucking feel within the first day of taking them, and their benefits only grow as you take them. And they also improve your blood markers of health as well, or they change them. They could make them worse. I almost died of hypoglycemia because I took 4 tablespoons of American ginseng the other day on accident. It was a hyper overdose, and I almost felt like I was going to die. But so these are just an idea of things you can take on this third level of health, right? This is another level of health people don't think about, right? So for people who have their health unchecked, they may have like a really extreme job, and now their problem is no longer reversing diabetes or autoimmune illness. Now their problem is, oh, I need to, I have a full-time job and I'm having trouble keeping up with the demands of life and making money and stuff. Now they need to focus on herbs and nutraceuticals that give them the extra energy they need to live their life effectively, right? People will talk shit about caffeine, but really caffeine has a lot of health benefits in the literature, and it's way better. Someone who gets their jobs done on caffeine and is able to fully enjoy their free time outside of their job because caffeine helps them, they're going to benefit way more and have a healthier life than someone who says, oh, fuck caffeine. Caffeine's bad for me, and then they're sluggish in their job. They don't get as much done, and they're not able to enjoy their free time because they're too tired after work. Okay, you only fucking live once, and the health benefits of caffeine and the shit that allows you to do is worth way more than being one of these fucking stubborn, ignorant fools who just say, no stimulants, none of that shit, and then they get 50% done compared to what they would do on caffeine. So, anyway, there's also L-tyrosine and other supplements you can take in this third tier of health as well. But let's see. So to conclude this video, okay, what are some things that'll improve all these areas? Okay, so this is all the same protocol I've been talking about for so long. So what the first tier, blood sugar, triglycerides, metabolic health, okay? Plant foods will not, like, you can eat as much plant foods as you want. Salads, super greens, even multivitamins and minerals. That ain't going to do nothing. And that's another aspect of health, obviously. You need to get your building blocks. Vitamins and minerals, other compounds, and protein and amino acids. That is essential for life. But the government's RDIs is very, very flawed. I have a whole video breaking down why that's the case. Look at my playlist. There's timestamps on that video. And to understand the science in depth, okay? But the summary of that video is there's no solid evidence proving, that you need all the B vitamins and you need 100% of your daily recommended intake set by the government. There's no solid evidence that you need the essential fats that they say you need. Vitamin D science is so crazy now. We don't even know if vitamin D deficiency on a blood test is caused by the under consuming vitamin D or sunlight. It's now generally being accepted that vitamin D deficiency is a symptom of illness, but not a cause of illness. So if you have low vitamin D on a blood test, now doctors are thinking that you don't need to supplement vitamin D, but you have an infection that needs to be solved or something. There's a lot of nuance, okay, and not a lot of clear evidence as to what matters for intake of vitamins and minerals. But there's a book, it's called Vitamania by Catherine Price, and it explains why essentially minimum intake of nutrients never fucking mattered until refined foods came into play, okay? Unless you have a vitamin deficiency on your doctor's blood tests, okay? Like iron deficiency, anemia, B12 deficiency, or folic acid deficiency and stuff like that, or folate deficiency for pregnant mothers. And I would personally still say vitamin D deficiency on a blood test, supplement. Don't be an idiot. But outside of that, you don't need to worry. Okay, I've been eating almost exclusively chicken quarters for like almost 8 months or some shit like that at this point. And recently switched back to like mostly beef and shit, or I'm trying to, but beef and pork. But there's a lot of bodybuilders out there who survived on, well, that's a stupid example. But let me just say this, okay? Get enough meat in your diet, okay? Get enough protein in your diet. Protein is going to give you your minimum daily intake of, it's going to give you your neurotransmitters. So protein, amino acids. Okay, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight minimum for whole animal flesh. But I would say 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Ideal body weight, whatever your ideal body weight is, I think it's even more important. The reason why, I've said this so many times before, okay, if your blood sugar is the most important thing, removing high glycemic load carbs and really restricting your carbohydrate intake depending on how high your triglyceride levels are and how high your hemoglobin A1C is. The more metabolically unhealthy you are, the more restrictive you need to be on carbs until you get that shit on check. It will dramatically improve your results, okay? And a pharmaceutical dose of EPA fish oil, about 2 grams a day, will also help with that. But getting your glycemic load of your diet into the healthy range, okay, restricting carbohydrates, restricting things that directly impact your glycemic markers on your blood tests, that is what's most important. Adding vegetables, adding plant foods, adding super green powders, none of that shit's going to impact that. It will not, unless it's displacing unhealthy foods. It is the removal of unhealthy foods, the removal of high glycemic foods, and even whole carbohydrates. As I mentioned earlier, the people who eat a whole bowl of oatmeal in the morning, that shit's going to fuck up your glycemic response like crazy. With no sugar added, it could be the whole oats, rolled oats, it doesn't matter. There's people out there that eat fucking a cup of brown rice or whatever, and they have a glycemic crisis. So we need to not think that carbs are the devil, not think that plants are the devil, but we need to use nutrition as medicine. If your hemoglobin A1C is high and you need to get that down, if your triglycerides, you need to get it down. If you need to lose body fat, you need to be restricting your carbohydrates and added fats as well. Okay? So removing those foods is going to dramatically impact your glycemic response. Now, protein. Protein actually increases glucagon in the blood, which is a hormone that modulates blood sugar levels and puts them in the healthy range, essentially. So eating more protein is going to stabilize the blood sugar. If you eat your body weight, your ideal body weight in grams of protein, you're going to get the vast majority of your potassium, your magnesium, your real needed nutrients that you need for survival and health. Okay, you're going to get the vast majority of your B vitamins from it, and you're going to get most of pretty much all the nutrients you need to survive. Okay. And we're not talking about the RDI. We're not talking about plugging your nutrient intake into Chronometer or one of these nutrient tracking apps. We're talking about, for millions of years, humans, generally went through famines and shit like that and fasted for long periods of time and they were fine. But really, we survived for millions of years without nutrient trackers. And now we have this abundance of science. Scientists can't even agree how much nutrients we need. If you get enough animal flesh, you're going to be fine on nutrients, okay? I have videos explaining that. I'm going to try and make this simple and not go too crazy in this video about that, but not go too deep into that. Amino acids for your mood, for your neurotransmitters, your enzymes, and your body, your whole body, your mood, your energy, your cartilage, your connective tissue, okay? Doctors claim that connective tissue doesn't heal at the same rate that muscle tissue is. That's based on science that people are not consuming the glycine and amino acids and collagen and stuff that they need in their diet to repair those tissues. There's studies that show if you eat enough collagen repairing tissues that repair your joints, it's directly incorporated into the connective tissues of your body. So I supplement now with collagen, but also eat chicken skin and stuff that has enough glycine and collagen in it. Bone broth, I don't think is enough. I think you need to actually eat the collagen, actually eat the, gelatinous tissues of the animal to get the glycine you need. But it's used as a building block to your connective tissue, okay? And Studies on minimum intake of protein doesn't take that into account usually, but also mood and sleep. So melatonin, and GABA and serotonin, all these neurotransmitters that put you to sleep at night, they're created from the protein you're eating. Okay, so you need protein for that. Also, protein has never been shown to be stored as body fat. Okay, even though they claim like the calories from protein, if you eat too much, it's going to make you fat. That's not true. Studies generally show, and overfeeding studies, and I have videos explain this in detail, that whatever weight is gained from excess protein calories is usually gained in the form of lean body mass. And you don't just piss it out either. Usually these amino acids, they're turned into other molecules and things and retroconverted, and they're mostly used up. So eating more protein is generally better. Protein has 3 times a caloric burning effect than regular calories, 2 to 3 times. The thermic effect of feeding is what they call it, TEF, caloric burn. So you're burning more calories from eating protein. You're building more muscle tissue. You're eating the building blocks for your freaking knees and stuff. It has a blood sugar regulating effect. And what other nutrients are you getting? You're getting creatine, carnitine, carnosine. These are nutrients that bodybuilders and fitness people generally take as supplements and pre-workouts. Creatine, for example, the clinical dose. So if you consume your body weight, your ideal body weight in grams of protein, you're getting more than enough creatine to saturate your muscles to where you don't need a creatine supplement. Okay? You're getting vitamin K2 in the dark meat of chicken. Chicken is actually supplemented with large amounts of vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 has been shown in studies to reverse calcification of your teeth and plaquing of the arteries. For those of you who are familiar with the science, can y'all tell me which study it is down below that they found vitamin K2 supplementation can reverse plaquing of the arteries? There's a Japanese study, and then I think it's a European one. I think it's the Notre Dame study or something like that. Put it down in the comments, y'all, and I'll pin your comment. How about that? And give you a shout out. So there's a lot of nutrients and there's a lot of things you get from meat, okay, that you don't get from plant foods. But you get everything you need to survive, and you get all the benefits from eating large amounts of animal flesh and protein, okay? And it's in the highest bioavailable form. So potassium, magnesium, the minerals and vitamins you get from meat and animal flesh, and the protein as well. Substantially higher bioavailability than plant food forms, okay? And that's a whole nother video we'll get into. But like we discussed earlier, a lot of the plant proteins, like, rice and peas and fucking beans and stuff like that, soy, whatever, a lot of that your body's hardly digesting because it's bacteria that has to digest it first, right? So that protein from plants is not digesting the same way in your stomach as animal flesh is. It has to be converted in the freaking intestine before it becomes protein. It's not even broken down yet in the stomach. There's a lot of people don't understand. So a lot of that protein, the digestion rates are lower. You might only be digesting 60% of those beans you're eating, okay? And then out of that 60% of beans you're eating, your body, the bioavailability, how much are you absorbing from those beans? Potentially 75% of the 60% that's been digested, right? So you might literally only have 25% of protein from beans that's actually being tangibly used, like objectively speaking, right? Once it passes bacterial fermentation in the intestine, and then the rate at which it's absorbed into the bloodstream, and then actually used and incorporated and metabolized into the muscle cells and the neurotransmitters and stuff, right? It should be no mystery as to why a lot of these vegans are suffering from bloating. They seem to have trouble sustaining muscle building routines without getting injured. They suffer from depression, anxiety, all sorts of crazy things. And a lot of them that are thriving seem to be on significant amounts of TRT and steroids, let's put it that way. There's a lot more to protein metabolism than just the bioavailability. There's also the digestibility. So, and then the nutrients that are inside of these things as well. A lot of things in meat you can't get in beans and nuts and seeds and stuff like that. So, yeah. So to summarize, if you eat meat, okay, eat a good amount of freaking meat. Eat your body weight in grams of protein from meat. And then limit your glycemic load. And then be mindful of the type of fibers and stuff you're consuming in your diet. And you're not eating fibers and vegetables, forcing yourself to eat them to try to improve your health, but eating them just because they you like them, okay, and they don't cause any negative effects. And then after that, you take some tonic herbs and adaptogens and nutraceuticals, amino acid supplements like tyrosine, improve your motivation and dopamine. You're going to be head and shoulders healthier than all your peers. And my clients tell me all the time, everyone at their work and their job and their IT job and stuff like that are always crying about health problems and stuff. But they're eating these salads and all this other crazy shit, and they're bloated and whatever. They have a good body fat percentage. They're lean and shit like that. Their triglyceride levels are, shaky at best. Like average, kind of healthy, according to doctors. But my clients, head and shoulders better. Their triglyceride levels spot in the healthy range. Consistent energy levels. They don't get crashes in the middle of the day. No digestive problems at all. No sleep problems. So, yeah. Anyway, this is going to be my return video to YouTube. Hopefully this has covered all the bases and explained it in a way that's easy to digest. And it's technical enough, but not too technical. I'm satisfied with this video. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. There's a lot more to cover and stuff like that. But let me know what you want to see down in the comments, and I'll talk to y'all next time.